Welcome back. Hope you've had fun doing your research recently. Today, we're going to try to cover something that might be a little confusing to you because you may not even be aware of the fact that FamilySearch has two different catalogs, and they also have a book collection at FamilySearch. And so we're going to cover the two different catalogs and books, since the books are part of the FamilySearch website also, and are included in the catalog. So specifically, we're going to talk about where you can find the two different catalogs, why FamilySearch has two catalogs, and we'll talk a little bit about each of the two catalogs, the Family History Library catalog and the FamilySearch catalog, and their key differences and best uses for each. And then we'll just briefly talk a little bit about the book collection and tips for using it. Okay, so where are these two catalogs? Since many of you aren't aware that there's two, we need to show you how to find the second one. So the easiest way to find them, I guess, because I don't know of any easier way short of memorizing how to get to the different catalogs independently, would be to go to familysearch.org/en for English, if you speak English, /library. And that takes you to the Welcome to the FamilySearch Library page, which is a little bit different. And the reason I'm taking you here is because I want you to be able to get to both catalogs. We know another way to get to the FamilySearch catalog, but we're going to show you how you can get to the two of them together. When you're at that page, there'll be several different things you can click on. We're going to click on Collections. And when you do that, it takes you over to a Collections page. And from there, there's a link to Search Our Catalogs. And clicking on that gets you to a FamilySearch Library catalog page. And the URL for that is familysearch.org/en/our-catalogs. Okay, once you click on that link, you're going to be taken to the two catalog landing page. This is a page where you can access both catalogs. And the key thing to remember in today's presentation is by what these catalogs cover is built into their names. One of the catalogs is called the New Library Catalog, and the other one is the existing FamilySearch Catalog. So one covers specifically the library, the other one covers specifically FamilySearch with a certain amount of overlap, but their emphasis is based into the name. So what we'll do first is let's talk about the new one, the one that you may not be familiar with, the New Library Catalog. And if you're working from home, this isn't going to be as useful as it would be when you're at the library, but there are uses for it that we can use from home. So the new catalog. Key point is libraries in its name, so it's truly a catalog for the library. When the library in Salt Lake, when you're at the library in Salt Lake, this is the catalog of choice because it will tell you exactly what's found in the library. This is the place to go if you're looking for a book in the library or another physical item such as, say, maps or something like that. And you would use this from home, especially if you're going to take a trip to Salt Lake, because this is where you can go to find out for sure what's in the library. You don't want to use the FamilySearch.org catalog anymore to plan a trip to Salt Lake. You want to use this catalog. Okay, now the search engine for this looks very different from what you're used to, but in fact, it's really basically the old search engine like you found at the FamilySearch catalog, just redesigned a little bit and upgraded and made better. And so we're going to explore a little bit about how to use this and see some of the new features. Okay, so you'll be directed to a wealth of information about the library and the FamilySearch website to a degree by going to this catalog in its search engine. You can sign in. The biggest value for signing in is that you're allowed to save searches and make lists of things that you want to see or look at, and it'll be saved under your login. So that's why you want to sign in to use this. It has a collection of extra things down below the actual search engine. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But first, we want to start with the search engine. And this is the search engine, the main search engine for the site. It looks totally different from what you're used to using for the FamilySearch catalog. But basically, it's really the same thing, just a little bit of redesigning. Under the keywords, you have a drop down, and you can change it to title, start of title, series, author, subject, call number, advanced search. Basically the same choices you had, essentially the same choices you had when you were using the FamilySearch catalog. So you can pick one of those from the drop down to redesign your search into a certain kind of search to filter it. So let's do a place search. And so what we're going to look for is where my dad was born, Globe, Gila, Arizona. And what I actually did is I just left it on keyword, but I could have changed it over to place, but I get basically the same result. And you'll notice some differences here when the results come up. They're going to provide you with some alternative categories, or not categories, but localities where Globe is mentioned. And of course, the first one's what I basically look for: United States, Arizona, Gila County, Globe. Or I can look under United States, Arizona, Gila, which is the county. I can look under United States, Arizona, Gila, Miami, which is a neighboring city, because there may be some catalog groupings that have things for both cities that might be listed under Miami but include Globe. And so there's a bunch of different ways I can filter for this locality. Also, it names some specific organizations that were found in this community, in this case, where there are some records, like St. Paul's Methodist Episcopal Church in Globe. There's one set of records there. And then the topics that we're used to finding. And if I expand it, these are the different topics that have some kind of a record in the catalog for Globe, Arizona. So there's like one group of military records, one for mining claims, because this was a mining camp. Land and property, there's 5 collections, vital records 2, and so on. Okay, so there's some things you can click on to filter your results to get a more specific result for what it is you're actually looking for. Notice the way they classify it. They'll tell you of all the records available. In this case, there's 28 record sets. 27 are at the library, and 10 of them are available online. And so it kind of gives you a breakdown, so you know that you can do a little bit of online work because at least 10 of the groups are available online. Okay, there are also other kinds of sorting that you can do. Right now it's set on best match. And then looking at the results, and this results screen is going to look different than what you're used to. You'll notice like this first one, which is the second Gila County Courthouse in Globe, past, present, and future. It gives you some information about it, saying that it's got actual online content. So that means it's available online, and there's a blue link to actually go to it. Whereas if you look at the ones below there, you do not see that. So those are in library only locations. And if you want, you can either look at more information about this source, or you can add it to a list you're creating of things you want to look at. There's also some ways to share. Okay, searching for a vital record, pretty much the same thing. I'm still in Globe. What I'm doing is I'm going to click on vital records this time. It says there are 2 of them. It says there's, if I look up at the results up above, it says there's 2 in the library and 1's available online. And so this one's called Marriage Records. And it says it's a microfilm and it's available. If I want more details, I need to click on microfilm. And this is what it's going to show me. Now, this is where there's a weakness in this catalog. Notice it says available. It doesn't tell me what available means. And when I even look at more details, all I know is that there's 3 microfilms here. And actually 2 microfilms. One of them has 2 parts that are applicable, part 4 and part 5. And then there's another film. They're all found in the Granite Mountain Vault, but that doesn't tell me anything. And their status is just available. Like I say, it doesn't tell me what that available means. In fact, I went and looked it up, and these are actually digitized, and they're searchable on the AI full text search. And I found that out going over to the FamilySearch catalog. So see, this is an example of how this catalog can be weak because it doesn't really give you the full information at this point of what is available. So this is not really the best catalog to go searching when you're looking for microfilms or digital content. Okay, now let's look at those collections, because this is something that's different and interesting and can be helpful to everybody, whether you're at the library or not. They will show you new books that have come into the library, and it'll just be a random selection of the newest books that have been added to their collection. They'll give you little pictures of them and then a link to see what's in them. But then they also have beginner research. And so they have beginner research for all of these areas. And what they've done is not a class, but they have put dozens and dozens of books that give you information on how to research that topic. So if you're working in the East Asia area, you can click on there and it's going to give you all kinds of magazines and books and articles that you can read to learn how to research in that area. Same thing for German, Slavic, European, British Isles, Scandinavia, South American research, and US and Canada research. They've also done this for heritage collections. They'll help you with how to do African American research, Jewish research, LDS research, Mayflower, medieval, Native Americans, and Germans from Russia. So they have all of these different topics with a big page of dozens of resources that you can use to help you get going in researching. And they've also done this for the Middle East. And they've shown you all the different Middle East locations that they will help you with. And I thought, well, there probably won't be much there. And I was amazed. I have a whole page of resources for every one of these with dozens of resources that you can go to help you research that area, much more than I ever expected to see. I was really impressed with that. Okay, so in review, best used to prepare for a trip to Salt Lake. If your goal is the physical materials that are there, books, periodicals, maps, and things, this is the catalog to look in. But it can also be used to double check if you can't find something that you know Salt Lake has, but you can't find it in the FamilySearch catalog. And there are some reasons why you might not. We'll be talking about that in a minute. And so this is a good second place to look when you're not finding something you know Salt Lake's got. And it isn't good at locating the microfilms and fiches and the other new digital content, because often those are available, if they even are shown as available in here, they're not going to tell you how they're available. So you've got some issues here with this catalog, but there are some good things about it. And especially if you're going to be going to Salt Lake, this is the place you want to look. Okay, now this existing FamilySearch catalog, our old friend. On the search menu on FamilySearch, it's down there in catalog. And this takes you to what looks like our familiar catalog page, search engine. The thing is, this is like a car that's been souped up on the inside. The outside looks the same, but what's underneath there, what's driving it, has all been rebuilt and improved. And this is a better catalog than it used to be. Now, catalogs for FamilySearch go all the way back into the 1800s. In 1894, they started the first one, which was probably a drawer system like you see here in the picture. And that stayed in effect until about 1996 when they turned to a digital version. I remember the old catalogs on microfilm. In 2022, there became a major problem. The technology that was used to create this digital catalog that they've been using since 1996 in various forms was no longer usable. It couldn't be updated. So they essentially froze this catalog back in 2022. You may not have been aware of that. They did not enter anything new into it for 3 years, or 2 years plus. Okay, once they got the insides rebuilt so that it could function in the modern world, then they started trying to catch up with all the things that they hadn't added in. And they are still in catch up mode. And so we have to be patient. You're not always going to find everything that you think should be there. And when you see an issue, you need to report it so that they can add it, because they're in the place that right now where a lot of times the things that they're adding are things that people discover that got lost in the shuffle and didn't get added in. Supposedly new and updated materials constantly being added to this catalog. They also made some other changes which caused some issues, let's say, and we'll be talking about those in a minute. Okay, when to use this? Well, when you want to locate a physical resource, it means if the FamilySearch catalog now includes all the resources supposedly that are found in the Family History Library catalog, plus most, not all, but most of the digital content found on FamilySearch.org. So you can use this catalog for both of those things. And researching digital resources, this is where you can find most of them. The original microfilms are listed here. and you can find out their availability, actual availability, and you can access these, the ones that are available to the public. Digital content is added to FamilySearch and will be cataloged here over time. Some of it goes directly here, but some of it doesn't. And this is where it can be very confusing. Okay, so we have to talk a little bit about this issue of digital content, because as FamilySearch processes digital content, it doesn't all get sent to the same cataloging location at the beginning. It's what makes things difficult for us to find everything that FamilySearch might have, because the way things are processed is different based on where these resources go. The microfilms and microfiche are in the catalog because they've always been there. They were in there from the beginning. When they were added to the collection back in the old days, they were cataloged, so there's no problem there. Records that we call the index records, the ones that weren't microfilm, the ones that came into that index record collection before the year 2021's in the catalog. After that, for the most part, you're only going to find it by going into records to see what collections are there. They're trying to get these things added into the catalog, but they haven't all been put in there. So the safest place to go to find things that have been added to index records, which we're not doing anymore, so hopefully this will get resolved soon. You're going to have to find those collections over at records by going and looking at the collections they have. Okay, unindexed records. These are non-microfilmed images. These are digital images that were added to FamilySearch in the past before we had AI things to help us. And those images are not in the catalog. They're going to be added sooner or later, but for now, they're not there for the most part. And so again, you're going to have to go to the unindexed collection under search, and you're going to have to look in there at the different collections to see what's actually available at FamilySearch. Now, the new player on the block is the AI Every Word Search program, which is great because it's a good program, and everything that's being put into this is being put into the FamilySearch catalog. You will find in the catalog now all the collections that are going to Every Word Search, and they're going to be marked with a new symbol. You're going to see a little symbol that looks like a page of text with a little star, a couple of stars up in the corner. That's to tell you that that's found at Every Word Search, and it's also in the catalog. So hope you're not totally confused, but this is kind of the state of where we're at right now. And so they give you some suggestions for this catalog and how to use them. I'm not going to go down through these. Remember, you can get this aid came right off of the web page out of the FamilySearch catalog, where they listed at the bottom of the page suggestions for searching. So you can find it there. Also, this presentation is recorded. You can go back and review this. And at our blog, we provide a PDF file for each presentation that has all the slides on it. So you can pull the PDF file and download it and come to this page and just see it. But these will give you some specific things that you can do to make good searches in the catalog. They do provide that for you. Now, there is a big problem. I've had to live through this with my wife because she does a lot of European research, and that can be a little confusing because most of us that live here in America are not real experts on all the ins and outs of how locations change in Europe based on wars and time periods and stuff like that. Well, what my wife has discovered is that using the Family Search catalog, which was the only one she was familiar with, that she couldn't find some films that she was used to finding. And that's because they've created a new single unified place standard system. In other words, the standard locations have changed in some cases because they've gone to a unified single system. And what you used to look a place up as may not be a listing anymore. And so they provide several options of where you can go to find your place if it's just not coming up as you expect. One of them is a place research tool, and I provide you with the URL for that. This essentially is a worldwide gazetteer, and I suppose this is the premier tool now that will house the standardized places Family Search wants to use. You still have the place search drop-down list, but you may find that it works different than it used to, or may not work at all. You may not be able to find anything on the drop-down for a place as you enter it the way it used to be located. So that's an iffy. You can try keyword searches in the catalog in hopes that that'll help you pull up things that will be helpful for historical places, for things in the past. And the last possible tool that you can use is our good old friend, the Research Wiki, because you'll be able to find there many places that are no longer found in the catalog. And so this is right now a problematic thing that's being worked on, being improved, and hopefully will get resolved. Okay, know the icons at the Family Search catalog. We have the old microfilm reel, which means if it's by itself like this, the only way you're going to be able to view it is to go to Salt Lake to the library there, the Family Search Library, to view it, because except for maybe Provo, one or two other major regional centers, most places, the films have been returned to Salt Lake. And so you're not going to be able to find it if it's on film at your local center. If you see the magnifying glass, that means that you can search by name for that collection. If you see the camera, that means that there are some unindexed images, or in the case of the one above there, you can see the images, and in this case, you can also search them by name, but you could also search the images by image if you wish. That's what the camera represents. Here's an example of the every word AI search. When you see that, you know that you can now search for that every name search. And then there's the one we don't like to see, the camera with the little exclamation point, meaning it's restricted. And try to remember that there's several different reasons. One of the biggest problems we're having right now is Family Search had permission for like microfilm viewing, but that did not cover digital viewing. And so they've had to go back to the owners of all these millions of collections to get their permission to also allow digital viewing. And if they haven't been able to contact them or they won't give permission, we can't show it. It's not Family Search's fault. It's on the shoulders of the owner of the collection and what they want. We have to abide by their desires. And the last one's not a symbol. It'll just be when you see the word available, generally that means this is something that's not digital and it's found in the library. In this case, it's a book. It's found on the third floor. at the library in Salt Lake, the FamilySearch Library. Okay, so the key thing here is the reason I wanted to introduce the second catalog is because you're smart. If you're smart, you're going to combine your resources. You're going to use both catalogs to help you get a fuller, more holistic picture of what's going on. And hopefully, between the two catalogs with their different strengths, you'll be able to locate what you want to locate. So it's just a thought, and it's one you need to be aware of because everybody's going to sooner or later reach a point where they're going to run into something that just doesn't seem right with the catalog they're working in. And you might be able to get things straightened out by looking at the other catalog. Okay, digital books, just a couple of words on this. Okay, the purpose for the digital books. Back in 1999, when the FamilySearch website was created, they began an effort to digitize books, partly because they'd like to see them online. But secondly, it was to really help the library out because they were getting buried in books and they wanted them off the floor as much as possible. And so they started digitizing with the intent of opening up more space inside the FamilySearch Library so they would have more room for patrons, more room for the technology that was going to be coming. Okay, well, this is quite a collection today between books and histories and maps and yearbooks and on and on. There's actually about 630,000 total volumes in this collection. They add about 40,000 new volumes every year. And so their goal is to create this huge, gigantic, genealogically based digital library. And it's really a wonderful collection. They've gone well with outside themselves by going to other libraries and partnering with them. And so here's the list now of their other locations that they partner with. And basically what they do is they offer to digitize the books for that company or library or archive or whatever it might be, as long as they're allowed to put a copy in the collection at FamilySearch. So this is a win-win. Both places get digitized copies of these books. And so you can see there's quite a few. Used to be about 7, 8 total, libraries and archives that they worked with. Now the list has really grown and is going to continue to grow. So accessing the book collection. We go back to our old search menu and FamilySearch and down to books. And it looks like it's the same old search engine, but just like the FamilySearch catalog, this is the outside shell. The inside has been upgraded. And like it says here, it says there's 500,000, over 500,000. Well, they're just not updating that number. The latest number I had was over 630,000, which is probably 640 or 50 by now. You have your search engine where you can type in what you want to search, and then there's some tips. So we'll look at the tips first. And my 2 tips are, as I found these to be very successful, is to do a search with the person's name in quotes, the word and a place. Like Henry Harrison Sands in quotes, and Pennsylvania. That means you have to find both of those things in the entry. Or a family name in place. So like Sands for the last name, and in this case, Block Island, Rhode Island, in quotes. And those are the kind of searches that I find are very successful. They try to give you some ideas here. Use exact phrases, use Boolean searching, which is what I'm showing you here. You can use and, or not. And It says you have to have them capitalized. I found it actually will work with not capitalized, but normally you should. And then wildcards. The only wildcard symbol they use is an exclamation point or a asterisk, excuse me. That asterisk you generally show a place where you can add one or more letters. They don't have one for more than one and one for one. They just say for one or more. So you can do Roma with the exclamation or the asterisk, and that's going to show you like Romans and Romaine, or you can put it in there in the next to the last letter, Anderson, and it'll give you Anderson with the O or Anderson with the E. And so those are the search tips they suggest. So I did a search for Henry Harrison Sands in quotes and Mordansville because that was the town where he lived. And I only got one result back. This was the result. It was a Lundy family book. The key thing you want to look for is access level. You want to see where they all say full permission or something like that. They have several different options. That means you're going to actually be able to see it. And now they also provide us with full text results. In other words, little highlights from certain pages where this person's name is found in this case and place. And so there was one page, page 454, where Henry Harrison Sands in Mordansville was on there. This is what I was hoping for. So I can go click on the book, and this will be the first page that will show up. And I said search inside for Henry Harrison Sands, and then click on it, and I get the book in the viewing page. And then it's going to be helping me find pages where Henry Harrison Sands is mentioned. And notice that any book that's public like this can be downloaded. You're going to find several different icons on the page. But that one there that's in the yellow circle is the download page, and that will allow me to download the entire book, not just the page here that I wanted. The other thing you need to be aware of is it'll say go view 454. That's image 454. The actual page is 438, but it's the 454th image in the roll for this book. Most books are that way. The page number and the image number are not the same. So don't get confused if it says you need to go to page such and such and you go to that image, it'll probably be an image of a different page. So just something to be aware of. But it's now very usable. This is much like going to look for a book at Google Books or the Internet Archive. They operate very similar now, which is a big improvement over what we used to have. Okay, now I did a search for a surname and a location. I did Sands and Block Island. And then notice that down here, I looked at access level and I clicked, I wanted to just see those that are public and those that have full permission. Actually, full permission's better. I'm not sure exactly what happens with public, but it's not quite the same as full permission. But anyway, there were 3,117 search results. I had them sorted by relevancy. That sounds like an awful lot. Okay. But that's okay because when when you're searching by relevance, usually the best results are at the top. And then as you go down the list, they get worse. So you'll probably find what you're looking for in the first page or two of results. There's 312 pages here. but I probably only need to look at one or two. And again, they're going to show you the little images of the cover, and then they'll talk about it. You can click on it and go see more. So just the last some thoughts on this. This was a demo on the books collection. Understand that that's not really all the books FamilySearch has. These are the books that are digitized that FamilySearch has, along with things they've digitized from their partner sites. There's also books over in the catalog, so you can also go look there and search for book titles there, and you might find something that didn't get put over here under books. So I just want you to be aware of the two options there. Okay, so I always like to put this little slide on at the end. This happens to be our 99th video. If you've liked it, click like and follow us if you want to be given notifications ahead, whenever anything is posted at YouTube. You won't have to wonder if something's been done. You'll get a notice saying that we've created something new. This is our channel page. You can see the name of our channel. And in that little blue link there that the blue box is pointing to, that's our blog where you can find the PDF files or the slides for any of these presentations so that you can just download the slides and look at the images. Or if you wish, you can go and click on the various presentations and just watch the whole presentation. So I hope you enjoyed it today. We'll be seeing you again in 2 weeks. I believe we'll be talking about my heritage. And so have fun researching, and we will see you then.